people will hear I was a Marine and they'll see my success and they'll go, see, everyone should be join the military right out of high school. They should be made to go. And I go, well, listen, you would think I agree with that, but I don't, because I saw plenty of folks and I'm gonna come back to a word that you said, opportunity. I saw plenty of folks join the Marine Corps and blow it. And they shouldn't have been there. They ruined their lives or maybe even lost their lives for the wrong reason. I'm not talking combat. I'm talking, wrong, poor decisions.
Welcome to Ultrahabits. Here, we go under the hood with our guests to unpack the minutia and to understand what processes and systems they engage or research that result in ultra-enhanced living.
Hey guys, it is RJ Singh here, and we are bringing to you our next guest this week on the Ultrahabits Podcast. And we are joined by Dale Walls, who has become a friend and someone that I highly value in my own personal network. We met some time ago, and I joined Dale on his podcast. It was a real depth of questioning, some real dynamic conversation, and I knew I needed to get Dale on our podcast at Ultra Habits to share his wisdom with our audience. Now, Dale is a executive leadership dude, but not your ordinary guy. He was a U.S. Marine, and when he exited the U.S. Marines, he went on to create and start a IT services business, which he ultimately grew and exited. Now, he goes on to say that after 20 years in executive leadership, he founded the Lions Guide, which is his new initiative to help others apply high performance and leadership skills in their lives so they can achieve their personal and professional goals faster. Now, a bit about Dale. At the age of 17, he was extremely lost, purposeless, a only child of a broken home and living in his grandmother's attic. After being stitched up in a bloody street fight, he agreed to attend a week-long boot camp hosted by the American Legion, run by the U.S. Marines, and he ultimately joined, and this set him on a path of leadership and high performance. And when he got out of the U.S. Marines, he returned to a small town where he founded the IT services company, Corsica Technologies, which, look, it ultimately grew to become one of the best in class in the United States. After nearly 2 decades of growing Corsica to 8-figure revenues and making multiple acquisitions, he ultimately sold the company, and now he is living his life's purpose in the form of the Lions Guide. Now, he goes on to say that he spends his days fulfilling his passion to help others learn high performance and leadership skills to apply in their own lives. So, look, Dale is a extremely mission-orientated man. I've had the pleasure of having this man in a network of mine, getting to learn more about him offline, and he's a remarkable man, very humble, very down to earth, very easy to talk to. He comes across is pretty laid back, but when you look in this man's eyes, you can see a fierce determination, and he knows his shit. And that's what we wanted to unpack today on the Ultra Habits podcast. A man lost, or a kid that was lost, ultimately joining the U.S. Marines, re-evolving himself into the man that was able to effectively leave the U.S. Marines, start an IT services company, and then grow it to one of the best and the biggest in the United States. I think there's a story to be told, and we wanted the opportunity for all of our audience to get that exposure. Now, we are back. We are in the new year, so happy New Year's, everyone. I hope that you are intentional. I hope that this year starts off bringing you closer to where you want to go, and that you're putting in the hard work to get there. Because ultimately, as you know, and I know, we're the only ones that can do the work for us. So before I do leave you in the capable hands of Dale, I just want to quickly read a review from one of our good mates in Canada, Patrick. He's an author of The Collaborative Path, all about conflict resolution in negotiating in high stakes. He goes on to say that RJ is an engaging host. His guests, from the ones I've listened to, provide not only insightful content, but also pragmatic, usable habits. Then it's choice to change by adopting and integrating ultra habits into everyday life. Thanks for that wrap, Patrick. We value you. Love you, man. Anyways, take care. Y'all have a great week, and I will be back to you next week with another episode and another guest. Peace out, guys.
Dale, welcome to Ultra Habits, man. Look, I like to refer to you as my brother in arms, right? Like we both have this podcasting life. I obviously was on your show and wanted the opportunity to have you here at Ultra Habits. So welcome, man.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, look, we were just talking before the show about how you came up short on your hunt and just all the different things that you like to do when you get out there. I think you're out there with your 12-year-old son. How often you get out hunting, man?
I not as much as he would like to. He's always like every day. He's like, Dad, can we go? And Mom's like, go in the morning. I'm like, no, bud, you got school tomorrow. He's like, yeah, but I can just go late, or you can pick me up early. I'm like, no, so we just go on the weekends. Now during COVID, when we were home anyway and everything was online. So I guess maybe I spoiled him a little bit last year because he wanted to go a lot. And I'm like, yeah, man, let's go. Nothing else is going on. I had just exited my company and everything. So I was free bird, so I was like, yeah, let's go. And this year he's back in school and he's kind of like, poo-poo pants when I go, no, bud, you're going to get on the school bus. You're going to go to school. And, but I might reward him one day and, get a surprise and pick him up early or something.
How have you found the process of hunting in terms of like, it's the kids are getting exposed to life and death and the realities of living. How have you found hunting in terms of how it's impacted your kids? Like, has it helped them mature? Have you had any weird conversations or any kind of, has anything come up for you in that process when you're out there with them?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things there. And I think one of which you'll appreciate is one, you're getting outside and you're enduring the elements a little bit. I mean, especially something like you're referencing a picture. I was deer hunting. And in my experience, maybe not everyone's, and I'm not king hunter. So all you king master hunters or what out there, hey man, send me your advice and everything. I'm wrong. I need it. But with regard to, me, I tend to go hunting is when the weather's tough. It's raining, it's blowing, it's snowing, it's cold. And so what I appreciate about the experience for my son is him being passionate about it and wanting to do it. And I go, hey, but it's snowing and it's freaking 20 degrees and blowing 15 miles an hour right now. And he wants to go, right? He wants to endure that to get to the hunt. The other thing is really there's it's called hunting, not killing, right? So, he's young and he's brought up like, hey, I want to go hunt this. I want to go that. And some things you don't eat, right? Maybe it's like crow or fox or whatever. So that's yielded some opportunity to talk about like the intention, like, okay, why are we doing this? Right. This is hunting, not killing. Right. And I don't want to just go out, but I mean, it's perfectly natural. He's a kid. He wants to go shoot things with a gun, he's American, and, but so it's had the opportunity to kind of talk about intentionality going, hey, look, we don't want to just go shoot things to shoot them. Like we want to go, harvest a deer or geese and duck and come home and, clean it, cook it and all that. Like I'm all for it, but I'm not really advocating like, hey, let's go shoot things just for the sake of shooting things. So I think those have been a couple of good opportunities, and parenting, I guess, around it for sure.
Yeah, look, I think it's great. I think, like vegan or, you can look at that conversation on veganism and people that, hunt their own meat, like Joe Rogan and that crowd. Like, I think it's great. I think it's all about sustainability, looking at doing things, I guess, differently. I've got no view on meat eating or not meat eating. I eat meat myself. But I definitely think that the act of hunting definitely teaches us a lot, right? Like patience, teaches children about life and death. It intentionality, bearing the weather and the difficulties of the terrain. So I think it's interesting. So with that being said, why don't we dive, Dale, into how you came up? I know that you ultimately joined the U.S. Marines. Maybe give us the journey as to how that came to be.
Yeah, that one's funny. So I joined the Marines. Why did I join the Marines? It's a little background to it. Is really like I come from a broken home. I think my dad split when I was in the second grade. My mom was really young when she had me. So, I think she was 17 or so ish when she had me. So she was young. And I ended up growing up in my grandmother's house. My grandfather was physically disabled from a stroke. When I was 5, he had a stroke, so he couldn't talk, couldn't walk, restricted to a wheelchair. So my grandmother's like a caretaker for him, but he's in the house. My mom's working double jobs to make ends meet, but she's still young, trying to figure herself out, right? Like, she's in her 20s and 30s with a kid and whatever. And I grew up in my grandmother's attic, and so there wasn't a lot of, and I don't come from I wasn't never beat, none of that jazz, but they were occupied. So I was on my own a lot. I was a single child. And so, I was out being mischievous, causing trouble. And I was smart enough. I had values, I came from a house of values. So I knew what consequences were. So we were out there having fun, but we were never doing anything too far. I knew what too far was. And, but I really didn't have any direction. And, I think it was between my junior and senior year, and look, I've always been a skinny dude, and I just got to talk a lot of shit, to avoid the conflict. I got to bark a lot to stay out of it. And that led, I got in a fight one day, and it was fisticuffs, and I came home just a freaking bloody mess. My mom had me in the hospital that night. I had to get stitched up and whatever. And, she was like tears in her eyes. And we had just gotten this letter in the mail from, there's a thing called Boy State out here that is put on by the American Legion. And back then, at least, I don't know much about it today, but it was hosted by the American Legion, but it was run by Marines. And so I remember it to this day, kind of being in the hospital bed, the nurse or whoever just injected in my lip those Novocaine needles. If you had stitches, that's the worst freaking part. I just got that crap injected inside my mouth, inside my lip. And my mom's sitting there after she left. She's got tears in her eyes. And she's like, "Will you go to this Boy State?" And I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'll go. Cause I saw the hurt, I was uncontrollable. She was trying to figure, her own self out and grow and make ends meet. And here I am just running around causing hell in creation. And so I went to Boy State and just got exposed to what the Marines were. Cause I didn't know, I really didn't. I had no military in my family, certainly no male figures. My grandfather's disabled, my father's away. And so I thought everything was Army, everyone, you go be a soldier or whatever. So I get there and there's a young corporal, and I really dug it. And I was on duty one night, and he's just telling me about the Marines and what it was. And I came back and enlisted right away. So before I even finished my senior year in high school, I enlisted into the Marine Corps, and that was it. It turned me around. So where I didn't give a crap about school, now I gave a damn. So I came out, I got great, I had purpose, I was going to go be a Marine. And so that was it. I just gotten enough trouble, caused enough trouble for myself to want to make a change. And, I joined the Marine Corps.
Yeah. That's a powerful story, Dale. And reflecting back, how did knowing what you know today, and I know you're a father, and reflecting back, how did not having a dad, do you think, disabled you at the time? Reflecting back, you might not have been yearning for a male figure, maybe you were, but looking back, how did not having that strong male influence impact you?
Yeah, and I guess it's to be a little clear. I had every other weekend dad when he, so, but again, not really, right? So did I have a strong figure? No. And then there was gaps where I didn't talk to the dude for 5-6 years at a time, so just to be credited, anyone comes back on this, like I had a father, but not really, as far as like what we would traditionally want. And I bring that up to bring to your question is like, yeah, I mean, I feel that we need both, right? We need that strong male figure, and then we need that emotional, caregiver figure that we see, both sides of humanity, I guess, right? Like that are showing us that, giving us that encouragement and lessons as a male on male, let's say, and then also the nurturing of a mother and support, and some of that emotional intelligence that you get from females in your life, in that regard. So I think there was a gap in that for me from a stability perspective, and I think still to this day, I look for it in different places. I think I found a lot of what I needed in the Marine Corps, and that structure and really showing me what I could be, right? I don't think I had someone, I never felt like I had someone in my corner from that father figure role going, let me show you how far you can go past where I've been in life or whatever. And really being there for me and encouraging me and just kind of making me feel like I had something to fall, like they weren't going to let me fall. Like they were going to keep propping me up, if you will. Right. And it wasn't until I started learning the structure of being a Marine and so on before I really started to find myself, I'll say, in that regard.
When you signed up and enlisted for the Marines that year at school, you changed, right? You transformed because you had purpose. Do you remember reflecting back to that period, what fundamentally changed within your narrative? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Because I think it's really important that what you're saying there is you had redirected purpose. And with that renewed sense of purpose, it then enabled you to rise to the occasion. I'm interested to understand what the narrative was in your mind, or what flipped for you in terms of the story you were telling yourself that made you do better.
Yeah, well, it was a standard. A standard had been set for me. The Marines are known as the few, the proud, and they carry about them a standard. And I didn't have that up until that point. And again, I don't say this in any judgment or even mean it derogatory around like my community, but it's a small town. It's blue collar. No one in my line had been to college or anything like that, right? So my standard, if I just went with status quo, was kind of low. And here I got exposed to a new standard, and I wanted to live up to it. So if I'm understanding your question, like that was it. I had a new standard set for me, and I wanted to go get it. Like I didn't want to, and again, I don't mean this derogatory, but I wanted more than what I was seeing around me. And it kind of showed me a way to get there.
Brilliant answer. Yeah. Brilliant answer. It's the power of direction, right? And we will elevate ourselves to the identities that we're creating, and you now had a kind of true north, or a compass, right?
Right.
Before you had no sense of where the hell you were.
Yeah. I mean, even here's one for you. Even in boot camp, like I had smoked a little marijuana in high school, just recreational, screwing around. But I lied about it on my enlistment. And I was like, did you ever smoke marijuana? No, sir. And just, but in the middle of boot camp, as an example of this, I wrote a letter back to my recruiter and said, hey, look, I lied on my application. I said I hadn't done marijuana, but I have, I'm not sure what to do about it, whatever. And then a week or so later, the DIs, this is in boot camp, the drill instructors come grab me, take me down to admin, and kind of question me about it. And they took me there to go update my paperwork and put in a waiver. There was no factor. But on the way down, the DI was kind of asking me, like, what'd you do that for? And I told him, I was like, if I'm going to be a Marine, like, I need to be all in. Like, and integrity is a big part of it, and I was learning the standard, and I felt like I wanted to correct something. Even today, looking back on it, it was like a really insignificant thing, right? Like a check no instead of yes on a stupid box on a form. But in my heart, I'll say it wasn't who I was there to be, and I wanted to fix it. And I would never forget that DI, he had me in there. So he asked me about it on my way there. Obviously, he had read what I sent my recruiter and everything. And he was even proud, right? We were in there in the admin shop, and he goes, tell her, it's some contractor, civilian, whatever. He said, tell her why you wanted to fix this. And I told her the same thing. Like I said, this is integrity is important to be a Marine, and I want to be the best Marine I can be. So I wanted to fix this. And he was proud of me. Right. And I was like, back to your point, like finally I had someone in going, look at you, and it was, that's it. That's being a Marine.
Man, it's such a fascinating piece there on the power of group standards, right? And like people will either rise to that or they'll piss off, right? Like and you can look at that within an organization as well, and talk about that a little bit down the track. So let's get into your Marine journey, the good, the bad, and the ugly. What did you learn? Why did you leave? Like, what was that whole period when you reflect upon it? What were your takeaways, man?
Oof. A lot of things. I mean, one, like I didn't feel I was going to college. Not that I could have gone to college, but frankly, I didn't enjoy school. School bored me. And this, I've heard a million other people say this, but it's same story you've heard before. Like school wasn't a fit for me. It was boring. And I knew I didn't want to kind of fall in line with how things went around here if you didn't go away to college. And what the Marines gave me was the opportunity to go get to work. I was going to get a job I wanted to do computers, and I joined in '98. So this is kind of like beginnings of the internet, or at least interconnectivity. So I was having fun kind of playing, multiplayer shooters over dial-up, in the 90s, and figuring out how to make that work. And, the Marines were an opportunity to not have to go to college, because I kind of viewed that as a nuisance and something I didn't want to do. And I knew I would fail. Like I knew, like I didn't care enough. And no one had gone to college before me, nor was I set up to go to college. Definitely didn't have the money to go to college. But I was going to go get a job. I was going to get paid right away. 6 months, learn a trade, start getting a job, whatever. So I did. I joined the Marine Corps, and I learned everything about IT. I mean, today IT is very specialized, but when I joined, I learned how to pull cable, build websites, build server, like everything. You
don't look like an IT guy, Dale. It's fucking crazy, bro. Like, sorry, you don't meet the stereotype, brother.
Right? Yeah. Well, yeah. There's that. But yes. But I learned everything IT, and I got to. I enjoyed it. I got promoted really quick. Like again, now I felt like getting exposed to my potential. I'll say, man. I just took off. I got into running. I was like really embodying my athleticism, where lack of confidence, I had never really lived it out before, because I didn't want attention on me. Here I am in the Marine Corps, again, around other people, like pushing themselves to go on to the next level. And so it was a breakthrough time in my life. Learned a ton about leadership. And I mean, we are embedded with leadership at ground zero in the Marine Corps. And that was huge, like learning about that, and became a major way of my philosophy of life today. And I got out because, really for the money, I didn't join to be a career Marine. But I got college money as a result of my enlistment. People were getting out all around me. I was like making less than minimum wage. And guys were getting out making $100,000 a year as soon as they got out, things like that. And, so I didn't want to stay. I joined the Marines, one, because I wanted to be a Marine. Two, I wanted to get a trade and get out and get on with life. And I was married to my high school sweetheart while I was in. So being in the military and married is kind of tough, because you're not really in charge of where you're going to live. You're going to get deployed. You're going to get stationed overseas. And for me, there's nothing wrong with all that. But for me, I didn't want to risk my marriage in that world because it's tough. I mean, I mean, especially when I was a sergeant of Marines, you see, marriages fall apart left and right for all different sorts of reasons, right, wrong, or indifferent. And I just didn't want to risk it. I'm still married to my wife today after what's soon to be 22 years. So that was a factor of it too.
Can I ask you, in your opinion, particularly with young boys, do you think that there is, like we hear and we know how young boys are, right? Like kind of we come up, we're a bit wayward, we got lots of energy, and a lot of us don't like school, right? Like it seems to be the way, particularly with my tribe of people, right? People like yourself. Do you think the military provides an opportunity for young boys to get disciplined first, and off the back of that discipline, once you have that discipline and structure, you can then go off and do whatever you want, right? Like it's something I've been contemplating with my own son, who's obviously very little. He's 4 and a half. But for me, like before I throw him into trying to push him into a craft, to kind of become excellent in a craft, we require discipline. We require focus. We have to be strong in terms of our character. And I've been contemplating getting him involved in cadets, all that kind of stuff to shape him first. And then off the back of that, he can figure out what he's passionate about and what he wants to do. What's your view on that in terms of the military's ability to do that, good, bad, or ugly?
100% if they want to be there, because I often get hit with the I'll come to your question by way it's asked me often, which is people will hear I was a Marine and they'll see my success and they'll go, see, everyone should be join the military right out of high school. They should be made to go. And I go, well, listen, you would think I agree with that, but I don't, because I saw plenty of folks. And I'm going to come back to a word that you said, opportunity. I saw plenty of folks join the Marine Corps and blow it. And they shouldn't have been there. They ruined their lives or maybe even lost their lives for the wrong reason. I'm not talking combat. I'm talking, wrong, poor decisions. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be a Marine. I wanted to go I had intention for it. And some of that intention was to go get the structure, discipline, opportunity that you described. So yes, 100%. The military provides so much opportunity. I mean, I was going to college for free while I was there. I was getting paid. I got a career. I was taught leadership. I was put in leadership positions before I was 22 years old, right? I had a career. I had college money. I had leadership and management experience. I had discipline instilled. I wanted all that. Some people don't want that. So I don't agree that people should be made to join. I know that there's countries that have compulsory militaries, Israel and so on. And I've not gone in to investigate research like the output of that, but that's a part of their culture too. So that's known. That's, as opposed to like US has a draft tomorrow, there's going to be, hell to pay. But so I think there's a difference of culturally that working or not. But so I don't agree that people should just be made to go or drafted out of high school or whatever. I think we should educate them to the opportunity, because to answer your question in long form, 100%, there's nothing but opportunity. But like everything else, if you're willing to go get it, if you're willing to put in the work, if you're going to join the military and just piss off and drink all day, all night, all weekend, and not take advantage of it, you're going to get out of it exactly that, or you're going to get in trouble and you're going to hate it and whatever. Because it's crazy. We talk about like freedom isn't free, and we talk about like there is truth in that. Like I don't get to decide when we're in. You talk to servicemen, they don't get to decide where they live, how they're going to dress, what they're going to wear, how they're going to cut their hair. We do sacrifice our freedoms to volunteer and join the military. Mm-hmm. We don't have the freedom to do what we want, and some folks aren't ready for that. They go against the grain and they get burned for it. because we're held to a higher standard.
Yeah, Jeff said, he said the same thing as well, that not everyone comes out the other end transformed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he effectively said the same thing you did. It's about intention.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think for me, the thing I like about the military, if you go in with the right intention, is it will mold you in terms of the character piece. And of that character piece, again, if you have the right intentions and you're open to learning and transformation, you can then use that as a launch pad to do anything.
Yeah.
Right. And so, okay, so now you get out of the Marines. What do you do?
So my last year in, so back to timing of this is early 2000s. So now internet's starting to take off. The availability of broadband is starting to tap into small, medium businesses. So my job in the Marine Corps was basically tactical data networking, where, again, I had the ability to interconnect IT systems, everything from the satellite all the way down to the cable on the ground. And here we are, with internet really starting to take off. Now there's technologies that were prior to that only reserved for enterprise, now accessible for small, medium businesses. I'm talking Blackberries, things that we don't hear about anymore, but Blackberries, all these things like you take for granted today, like this interconnectivity of our email on our phone. Like back then, that was just coming to life. And there's businesses, and I managed that on a large scale in an enterprise in the Marine Corps. I managed a network of about 7,500 users. Here I had small businesses out in town that were like, I'd run into them wherever and be like, they would show me their BlackBerry and be like, my desk counter doesn't match here. And I would just fix it. And they, I'm the best thing ever, and that's really where I fell in love with kind of like being of service to others with what I knew. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that, I could make a computer stand up and do a backflip. And people needed that, and especially small, medium businesses who now couldn't afford a whole IT person, but they needed the benefit and scalability of IT. So I could kind of come in and bring these enterprise class mindset and capability to small businesses. So I started doing it while I was in the Marine Corps. I had, half a dozen to a dozen clients out in town.
Your side hustle.
Yeah, that's my first side. Yeah, but I remember the first time I got that. Here I am, a freaking jarhead making less than minimum wage, and you get written a $20,000 check for getting a project done on a Saturday.
Not a bad racket.
No. And so I was on the golf course back when Tiger Woods was hot that time. He was out there at Torrey Pines, and I was in the summer before I was going to get out. And I told my wife, I said, hey, I think when we get back, I'm going to do this for real. I'm going to start a business. And that's what I did. And came back home, and I took a job with in the government at first because I had clearance and everything else, and then but I started getting to work, putting it together on the back end.
Right. So your IT firm, Corsica, effectively you were an outsourced IT support partner.
Mm-hmm.
Then you grew that business. And what was the intention? Like, did you want to just keep it forever? Was it to exit? What was that whole journey like?
Yeah, the intention was not to screw it up. I didn't know, right? Like you have that question, like, what was your exit plan? Like, man, I didn't even have a business plan, man. Like, let alone an exit plan. I just knew like there was a formula, and I wanted to. So ultimately, what I did became an industry. Not that I started it, but I didn't really know there was. But it's the managed services industry.
Mm-hmm.
But see, my mindset was like, hey, I know how to manage large amounts of systems, and I was bringing that capability to small and medium businesses, right? So to me, I was just building an outsourced IT department, and people were fractionally subscribing to it. And I was doing business for 4 years or so, and I got a cold call from someone and going, hey, there's this software and ticketing system and central management system, whatever, for managed service providers like you. I'm like, what's managed services? And they had explained to me, but it was just, that was my vision. It was what I was doing, and somewhere else I wasn't really watching it. There was an industry. And so then I got introduced to the industry and the tools that were available to me to really, really take off, because I was taken enterprise class tools and managing my clients' networks from afar. And then when I learned that there was actually software and things designed for my business model, then it was off to the races.
So what you're saying is before that, a lot of your processes and the way that you were managing your business was manual and not necessarily scalable. And you didn't realize that there was actually services and software that could support your business, which would then enable you to scale. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Exactly. So once that happened, then it was like, say, off to the races, because now I had a great formula, if you will. Like, here I was having managed large scale networks, and my competition are guys that they knew how to fix hard drives. I knew how to freaking do everything, like from a business side, large scale business side. So when I came into these businesses with like more of a enterprise management mindset, like I was a breath of fresh air, because I was talking the right kind of language. I wasn't talking just viruses and hard drives. I was talking like what technology is meant to do, which is scale and automate and, all that. So I had a lot of fun with it, again, because I just enjoyed enabling businesses, right? So back to your point, I'm not a tech nerd guy, right? I'm really capable in it, but I'm not all like geeking out on the latest Microsoft this or that and the other. What I did it for and what I got out of it most in terms of fulfillment was really solving problems for these businesses, right? And really help, like all the way back to the guy going, man, my stupid BlackBerry doesn't look like my calendar or my thing. And I go, watch this. It wasn't so much the technology, it was the satisfaction of solving that problem. And so, and that was the business. I really enjoyed doing it just from that perspective.
So how long did you then stay on the tools yourself versus actually building the business? Did the business become big in terms of people? And how did you manage the complexity of, I suppose, being the one to actually do the solutions for the customers to then running the business?
Yeah. It was early on that it was us doing a lot of the work, me doing a lot of the work. And one of my partners joined the company from the Marine Corps. We did the work, but we quickly, scaled. I contracted myself into the government and contracted him into the government. So we needed to hire people to do it for us. In fact, although I was doing some, I had like before I was employed by the company, I hired my cousin for minimum wage, and I worked out a deal, right? It's like, hey, when you're not billing, I pay you minimum wage. When you are billing, I'll pay you double, right? And so there was incentive for him to be out there billing and stuff like that. And so I always were adding people as we went and doing the work too. And so, but yeah, and it grew over the years just organically. And then, I think by the time I did my first exit, when I sold the company to the PE group, we were around 60 people or so, something like that. And I stuck around for another 18 months and we grew it to 200 people.
So the private equity firm taps you on the shoulder. What was their intention? They were trying to bolt you together with other firms. What was the reason that they saw you as a firm that they wanted to purchase? I'll get a sense that because of your Marines background and your clearance, you had a unique position in the government, which probably wasn't easy, I'm assuming. Like, what was it about your business that made it attractive to the private equity group? Number one, main thing they cared about was profits. So we had no debt on the company. We were very profitable as a result, whatever. And we were growing. What they never understood was like how we didn't have like a true sales and marketing force. And then that was because we grew organically, word of mouth, and we had really low churn. We weren't losing clients. So if you're not losing clients, but you're adding one or two a month, every single month, you watch that business grow. We just had a really great formula. And I would say that we were really a pioneer in the managed service industry, that we were, in my opinion, a true managed service provider. I only had contract clients. I think you're a little in this space. Like, I wasn't a VAR. I wouldn't sell a product or a project to anyone that was not a contracted managed customer. Similar, right? Yep. I'm a managed service provider. If you got a project,
Great. That's what VARs are for. We're not a VAR. We're a managed service provider.
What's a VAR?
A VAR is a value-added reseller. So that's what the industry was before managed services, right? Like these are the guys that would sell you the servers and the computers and then charge you to come put it in and then charge you by the hour to come work on it. Yeah. That's the old school way of doing it. But there's a lot of in the industry, and there still is to this day, like a lot of like throwing on the label, I'm an MSP. An MSP, you're just a VAR calling yourself an MSP. So we were really profitable as a result of that, and that's what attracted. We were just outperforming, the industry. And I went really far. I did hardware as a service, software as a service. I had a full IT team of services, help desk 24/7. Like. I wasn't a break fix shop. I mean, there was a lot of breaks, still selling like block hours and all this crap. You're selling block hours. You're not an MSP. You're a VAR, but we were a pure play MSP.
Sounds like you were a trusted advisor, retainer model, 24/7, everything. But with that comes a commitment from the client. So your client engagement process wasn't transactional as well. You were providing a strategic relationship, not a tactical one.
Correct.
And there's something to be said about that, right? So you now are acquired by the private equity. No doubt they want to bolt you together with other firms. They want to grow you. Was that process hard when you had to stay on?
It is for a lot of reasons. Because I enjoyed it because I got to meet a lot of new employees and grow the company. But when you're got that kind of growth, you get a lot of other, folks coming. You need more leaders. Some of them are other founder owners. Some of them did it their way. So now you start to bring in like things that were never in the company before, beyond my original core partner group, which you got a PE firm, you got consultants coming in, and so they're but it's new levels, new devils, right? And that's the way I look at it. It's like this is the new game, right? So now, so you bring these guys in, and look, I learned a lot. I brought in a lot of great people, smarter than I, and really got to learn a lot. It was a great time in that regard. I learned so much in those last 18 months I stayed on board, because it was just that I was just getting exposed to so much more, other markets, other leaders, other founder owners, and kind of seeing what worked for them. And that was kind of my goal, was like, okay, let's take what was working for you and what wasn't working for you and fix it and bring it together and keep getting better with each acquisition, both sides. Not just, I never was like, hey, I know it all, my way is the only way, because that doesn't work. And I was just trying to find like the various ways we could solve each other's problems, as we did the other acquisitions.
No, yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, one would have to be very kind of, aware of what's coming up for us in a scenario where you've been running things up, a certain way. You've got other owner founders coming in. You've got consultants now, telling you which direction you're going to go. It could be quite a challenging piece. So you exit Corsica. What did you do, and how did you come to Lions Guide?
I guess it goes back to that servant mindset. I mean, originally I just wanted to create t-shirts, and like I've always been into the inspirational stuff, and with YouTube the last 10 years, like finding a lot of speakers and really getting exposed. I was always, and I'm a big time reader. So I wanted to kind of like make t-shirts of stuff for myself. Really, I was like, I want to make some cool. So I was looking at all these t-shirt brands. I was like, I want to make a line of t-shirts, and just make some stuff I wear. And if other people want to buy it, great, whatever. It's just. And so I was working with a brand strategist, and he challenged me after like our second or third call. He's like, Dale, after hearing my story and how I did all these things that you and I have just talked about, and he goes, Dale, I got a question for you, man. I was like, what? He's like, you've done this business, you grew this business, you grew it to this point, you've got all this success, you've done all these other things, and you think the best you've got to offer this world is to sell them t-shirts? Like, what are you doing? And at first I was like, hey, man. And I took it as a compliment. I was like, hey, man,
Yeah.
thanks. No big deal. And then I and I really just kind of patted aside. And I don't know, it must have just stuck with me. And over the course of the evening, I just started thinking about it. And I was like, yeah, man, what I really enjoyed, especially those last 18 months, was working with my team, helping them grow, helping them solve their problems. And I really enjoyed it. It got me out of bed in the morning for my team meetings, my one-on-one meetings, like really working on my team. And so I came back in the next meeting. I was like, you're right. I want to go start helping people with what I've learned and help them, because I knew the life that I lived as an entrepreneur and business owner and organizational CEO, it's the life of a high performer. And I was always felt very alone, very like in my own head, always trying to push myself, but unrelatable to that drive in others' eyes. And so I wanted to go help fight the good fight for people who are on a similar journey that I was on and help them in that same capacity. Except be the person I never had was someone that, just like when I was making a BlackBerry do a backflip for, my clients early on, I wanted to come in and go, hey, let me show you what you need to know about what it takes to be an entrepreneur, what it takes to be a CEO, what it takes to be an organizational leader. Let me help you and show you the way. And that's where it became Lion's Guide, not the t-shirt, but Lion, symbolism of leadership, courage, heart, king of the jungle. But I don't feel I've got anything special about me or any secret formula and all that crap. Like there's 6 ways to a million things. I've got some ways, and that's why I just wanted to be a guide, because I read 40 to 60 books a year. I just wanted to help introduce people to the things I've learned, the things I've read, because I would be having these conversations with folks and I would go, hey man, just go read the E-Myth by Michael Gerber. Like it'll tell you everything. Like I was just dropping books on people going, hey, this will solve your problem. And one person called me a book pharmacist at one point, because I was just like, they would be explaining the problem. I go, hey, just go read this book. Cause I had just captured so much knowledge and experience. And I just wanted to go help people in the same way I was for my direct reports. Now I wanted to go work with people indirectly. I'm not really in charge of them, but I can influence them. I can help guide them. And then there came Lion's Guide.
That's weird. I think I just actually connected with Michael Gerber this week on LinkedIn. It's funny you mentioned him.
Yeah, it's a book. It's been around a while, but Michael Gerber, it's a great book called The E-Myth.
Yeah. Look, it's bizarre. I kind of his LinkedIn invite fell in my inbox, and I must have sent him an invite a long time ago. It's just bizarre that you mentioned him now. Maybe something more than a coincidence there. But so I noticed with Lion's Guide, it's primarily a community, right? Like you're creating a community of other business leaders where you have this forum of thought-provoking conversations, support. It's primarily through LinkedIn. Is that right?
Yeah, well, it started off as coaching. I was doing one-on-one coaching engagements. And then, look, I started this, back, I guess it's coming up on a year now, so 9 months. And at first it started as advisory and coaching sessions. But then I went on and I created workshops where I called it the high performance leader workshops, where I'm going through and just, again, it's coaching. There's not a better word for it, right? We need coaches, just like, professional athletes, coaches need coaches. We need someone to help hold ourselves to our potential, because, I'd always say the hardest part about self-discipline is the self part, like holding ourselves accountable. So when you're in charge, and I guess that's the part I was a bit alone. Like when you're a CEO, as example, you don't have a boss telling you what to do next, or, hey man, are you really trying as hard as you could here? And these things that, help push us. So today I get paid to push other leaders in that capacity. Again, I'm not in charge of them, but I'm here to coach them. Go, hey man, are you trying as hard as you could here? Or is this, I'm just there for them. And because they want to be better and they just want help to do so. So yeah, it's been a community. So, and I've been doing these workshops, one-on-one coaching. I've been doing Wednesday lives where I've been bringing podcast guests on who might have a framework or a book, and they come and give a lecture, so I do the podcast, but the lectures are more of the instructional version of some of these conversations. So yeah, it's just,
Fantastic.
Trying to help high performers out there.
Yeah. I've been watching your work. It's kind of, kind of building this ecosystem over the last year on LinkedIn with guys like yourself and Jeff and Joel Neeb, and ironically all you guys are in the military, but there's something to be said there. So in terms of habits, we always go into habits with our guests, right? Like obviously we're Ultra Habits. We believe that the small actions, the things we do daily, are they're the path to our salvation, our development, our greatness. Effectively, what would you say about habits? What habits are important for you, Dale?
Philosophically, some big habits are establishing clarity, having courage, in leading is for me. That's my core. And then tactically, reading. I read every single day. I work out every single day. Like, I've got to take care of my mind and body constantly. And I know when I'm not, whether it's travel or whatever, something's screwing on my schedule. I can feel a distinct difference of when I'm putting in the work on myself and when I'm not. And so I read every day, and I book as much as an hour. I read about an hour every single day. That's why I can burn through so many books a year. And then setting the intentions. Like I've really gotten clear about before I'm doing anything, I'm figuring out why am I doing this? Where does it fit with what I'm trying to do? So that way you can have a clear path without all these, you're getting where you're going more directly instead of all this zigzagging, for other people's agendas or distractions or whatever. And it's always leading, no one's going to give me anything. I know that, no one's got anything that was just given to them of value, and you've got to get out there and earn it. So I always go just always looking at how I'm going to get myself to the next level. And that includes like how I'm going to help other people or how I'm going to find a resource to help me and things like that. But those resources aren't going to come find me and follow my lap and all that stuff. So that's why leadership, I think, is another real big core value of mine.
Self-leadership. Well, look, it's been an amazing conversation, Dale. Your journey is remarkable, right? A small town kid, not a lot of direction. You're a good kid. You're a humble guy as well. I think that would have helped. I think no doubt you had that quality growing up, that pivotal moment where you're laid out after getting your ass kicked and, your mom says to you, what about this? Like a lot of kids may have said, nah, I ain't doing that shit. But I think you had the humility and the heart and the willingness to want to learn at a very young age and be better. I think you knew that. And to see where you've come from and where you've gotten to is extraordinary. Really, really extraordinary. So we want to thank you for coming on the show, Dale. Where can our audience find you, man? Where can they learn more?
Yeah, lionsguide.com. I've got a free, the community's free, so you can get out there and check out all the recordings, trainings, and all that stuff all around high performance and leadership. And then I'm on LinkedIn, so just search Dale Walls, look for the guy with the beard and the lion logo, and that's probably me.
It's good branding. You got the lion face going on there, brother.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. No, but it's been an honor to be on and meet you, and hey, and you're one of them, man. You're out there, another soldier in a good fight, and you keep me inspired as well, and keep me on my game, right? I see you out. The most powerful leadership trait is setting an example, and you're doing that as well. So I honor you for that, RJ. So thank you.
Appreciate it, Dale.